Hello, everybody. Good to see you all. We're happy to be here with another episode of All In a Nintendo Podcast, the weekly Nintendo variety show where each and every week no shell's left unturned and no point is left unearned. Happy to be here with you this St. Patrick's Day weekend. Hopefully everybody's out there being safe and having fun, drinking responsibly if you are of drinking age. Do so responsibly, please. We want you all to be safe. We love you very much and we care about you. Yeah, man, we're here hanging out on youtube.com/allinpodcast, just like we do every Friday night, live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, hanging out, breaking down the Nintendo news and having some fun. So shout outs to everybody who's watching us live. You know who else we need to shout out, Eric?
We always need to shout out our amazing patrons, my friend.
That's right. The amazing people who support us on patreon.com/allinpodcast. We love you all very much. Thank you all so much for your support, every single one of you, especially our Golden Banana and Triforce tier patrons. You get shout outs here at the beginning of the show every single week. So let's do that right now. Starting with our Golden Banana bunch: Rob Yapel, Third Strongest Mole, Shano Baggins Ashton, Tim A, aka NeoPrime33, aka Nintendo Dad number 4, Matt Shy Guy City Murray, Drew Agnew, Phelan Ward, Bill Tucker, Marcus O'Neill, Liam D, Solo Something, and Bowza. So thank you all very much for your love and support. But when it comes to our Triforce tier patrons, we've got to thank Josh Vaughn, the godfather of Tingle Love Tuesday, John Datfast Cummins of the Retrologic Podcast, as well as On Topic Retro, the Globetrotting Jet Settin' Nintendo Hub, and Sparky of the Nintendo Hub right here on YouTube, Adam Caparello of the Retro Groove Podcast and the Octorock 1982 YouTube channel, Shy Guy, the other half of our Shy Guy mod squad, Danielina Hosa, Dan and Luma, and the St. Patrick's Day legend himself,
the man with whom I will happily raise a glass to, Uncle Randy.
That's right, Uncle Randy. We love you very much, Uncle Randy. Man, we've got quite a lot to talk about this week.
Yeah, we do.
And it's been busy for sure. But, sir, what has been going on in your world?
Well, I actually have a tad bit of housekeeping.
Okay.
I have a sizable little announcement, as a matter of fact. Ladies and gentlemen, All In audience, your boy, Eric, All In Eric, has leveled up.
Okay.
I want to show off a couple things that I have gotten in my mailbox that are going to help change All In the foreseeable future. Not only do I have a brand new handy-dandy high-res face cam, which I'm going to start using, but much more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know what I am showing the camera right now, this is my very first ever capture card. Yes, I am going to start streaming quite a bit here in the very near future. Seth has been handling a lot of the YouTube duties, but stay tuned. A lot of you have been wondering about it. A lot of you have been asking for it. All In Eric is about to start streaming in earnest in the very near future. So keep an eye out for that. Details to come imminently.
Good. I'll take the help. I'll take it.
I know. And I'll be more than happy to. Like I said, I know a lot of you guys have been wondering about that. And a few of you, for some reason, can't get enough of my voice just from the weekly episode. So you'll have plenty more opportunity to hang out with me and play some games, have some fun. I'm going to do something with the Patreon as well. Haven't figured that out yet exactly. Seth and I will talk about that and put together some ideas. But I'm very excited to stream some games for All In myself now. And other evil laughs.
Good. Awesome, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how that manifests. That'll be cool.
Yeah, I am too, frankly. but it is absolutely in the cards. But this past week, what I've been up to, especially in the realm of video games, we talked a lot about Figment 2 last week. Another video that you put up on our YouTube channel was your first impressions of the... we got a code from Bedtime Games. Thank you very much for that. But it finally gave me the nudge I needed to go back and actually play the first Figment, the first adventure with Dusty and Piper in the world of the mind. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, you played the first part of Figment 2. I mean, it is that. It is
Yeah.
absolutely that. It is absolutely what you were playing. This kind of isometric viewpointed, very mechanically simple, kind of puzzle action adventure. But like the world building, visually, the vocal performances, it's a musical.
Yep.
That and the sound design and everything. It's a fantastic world built game. It's presented absolutely wonderfully, but the game is itself very mechanically simple, which did kind of leave me wanting more of that, and the fact that the first Figment structurally felt like it ended really soon.
Mm.
It wound up being, several hours, but
Yeah.
again, just structurally, it wound up feeling like I was like, oh, this is the end? Okay. But still, I enjoyed my time with it, and I'm very excited to dig into Figment 2. I did wind up starting that a couple days ago, so I'm sure that'll be done by the end of the weekend. I've certainly got enough on my plate to play for the foreseeable week. Obviously, a certain game came out today that we'll be talking about here shortly. But in addition to that, between the fact that Streets of Rage 4 got a massive new update last week and the fact that I finally got in my LRG copy of TMNT Shredder's Revenge, I've actually been playing a lot of beat 'em ups this week.
Nice.
So I've been playing a lot of Streets of Rage 4. I finally unlocked all the unlockable characters in Streets of Rage 4, replayed through that several times. I think, Seth, you and I will have to do at least one more co-op campaign of that sometime in the very near future, especially now that I do have all 12 unlockable characters in addition to the DLC characters that they've added. But it's so weird because playing TMNT, I also played TMNT a lot today for St. Patrick's Day. Green. Happy St.
Yeah.
Patrick's Day, everybody. But playing those two beat 'em ups like so close together really makes you appreciate the differences in the game. You have so much more mobility in TMNT, but like there's no external weapons. It's just the turtles and Casey and April and Splinter with their moveset, and that's basically it. Whereas in Streets of Rage 4, there are dozens of different weapons that you can pick up that really help break up the combat in fun ways. In addition to that, I really, really like Streets of Rage 4's risk reward special mechanic, the way that you can do special moves at the cost of recoverable health that you can build back up by continuing to attack enemies. So it really gets you to appreciate the big differences between each of the games, in addition to the clear graphical differences, both gorgeous, but incredibly different art styles. But it's so nice to have both games because I am very much able to appreciate both games for what they are. Although, admittedly, I do really wish there was some kind of defensive option in Streets of Rage 4 that didn't require me to sacrifice recoverable health. But, maybe Streets of Rage 5, who knows? Who knows indeed? But in addition to that, played a little bit more Mario Kart, ton of other things. I continue to play Pioro 2 every day. But what about you, brother?
Yeah, for me, there are two things I really want to flag here. For me this week. Well, let me, let me start here. So, this week it was a busy week, but yesterday, I had this moment. My wife was off work, and my wife and I kind of I had a few things to do throughout the day that were work related, but my wife was off work, and we sort of were cleaning the house, like deep cleaning it and stuff. I rearranged my entire office, as anybody watching the video version can see. There's, I put up a floating shelf behind me there, some posters.
You got Mario hanging out there above your guitar
Captain
now.
Toad's back there, little Keep Nintendo.
Oh, is that Captain Toad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. I see the Zelda thing.
Yeah,
what is that? A Zelda guide?
It's
Zelda poster.
It's
nice.
It's the 35th anniversary poster. One of the only 35th anniversary anything, of course, that happened. As everybody well knows, there.
Too soon.
Too much to celebrate it. The Skyward Sword poster and then the Breath of the Wild poster. I've got
nice.
a million. I have got a million posters. Like,
it doesn't really look like you left enough room there for the Tears of the Kingdom poster, Seth.
There's another spot I could if I wanted to, but I'm blocking a lot of it. But it's also, I've got all this like wall space and stuff, and I just spent like a long period of time organizing the office. I have like this bookshelf that I used to have over here is now on the adjacent wall, and what I want to do with it is I want to put a CRT TV there, and hook up like my retro consoles to it and whatnot. And
You're not talking about your Amiibo shelf, are you?
no, my amiibos are all up here just off frame.
Yeah.
My amiibo are all up there. So anybody watching the video version,
anybody watch it, linger on that for just a second. I really want to appreciate. Wow,
So-
that's awesome. I didn't realize it was like that. Seth, for those listening to the podcast, Seth has black shelves that literally run the length of the wall toward the top of the ceiling, and they're just filled with Amiibo. I don't like you and I both have basically, with a couple exception, basically all the Amiibo. But when you line them out all like that, it's really like, wow, they made that many.
I need one more shelf. Right above Mario, there will be one more shelf. I do have a currently complete Amiibo collection, for full disclosure, with the exception of like the golden monster hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So the super rare ones. But in any case, my wife and I are doing all this yesterday, and then we had this moment of realization of just like, was this spring cleaning?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, did that happen? So that was just kind of a funny, like, kind of old person experience, I guess. I also, as part of Mario Day, Eric, there was the thing with Mario Day is all these great games and stuff went on sale. The problem is, you and I already own them all. You know what I mean?
do.
Like, I've got them all already.
We do.
However,
Sorry.
Yeah, there was, however, a deal on Amazon that I couldn't resist taking advantage of. I got this.
What did you do, Seth? Nice! Oh my God! It's the Super Mario Brothers 1993 movie DVD. That's in good shape too.
Oh, it was new. It was sealed.
You found it new?
Yeah. They still sell it new. Yeah, you can still get it new.
Wow.
On Mario Day though, Amazon had that for $3. So I was like,
wow.
Well, it's time I finally own this. So just
that's amazing.
You can all be jealous. I have early access to the Mario movie, exclusive early access to the Mario movie. So anyways, that's kind of fun. Game wise, so Bayonetta just came out. I haven't had a chance to pick up my copy yet. I'm gonna do that probably after we get done recording tonight. But earlier today, this game called Post Void came out.
Yes.
Which I had my eye on for a little while just because of the art style of it was very sort of striking to me. Very graciously, the publisher sent us a review code, so big thanks to them for that. There's a video up on the YouTube channel right now if you want to see what the game is like on Switch. And what this is, it is a roguelike first-person shooter, kind of like a Doom, I guess Boomer Shooter is the name for this genre now. This is what I've heard. And I don't know if that just means like a shooter for old folks. Whatever the case may be, this is a roguelike boomer shooter, very fast-paced, incredibly fast-paced. And I'll say right out the bat, and I said this in my video, if you have epilepsy, do not play this game. Do not. Straight up.
That's a good note.
And it does and the game opens up with like a warning in that regard, so that's good. And there's an accessibility option that is supposed to be for that, but I couldn't tell the difference. I did it in the video. It's supposed to disable a lot of the movement and flashing. I genuinely couldn't tell the difference. So I don't know. Maybe it disables like other things that I didn't see active in my game, but the moment to moment movement and flashing imagery and stuff is still no different. But it's
still an indie game. It could possibly be something to where it's not correctly doing its job. It could just be a note that we have to send to the developer.
Possibly. Yeah. But in any case, the game is psychedelic. That is the best word I can describe for it. It is something like a Doom or a Wolfenstein cranked up to 11. It's faster than either one of those games. Movement wise, shooting wise. It is a mile a minute. and you're just it's a roguelike, so you're just working your way through the corridors and the levels, getting to the end. Between levels, it's like a downwell kind of scheme where you choose between 3 power-ups. One of them might be a weapon, shotgun, a Uzi, whatever. One of them might be like a passive effect, like, oh, now I move faster if I go backwards, or if I bump into an enemy, like it doesn't slow me down, things like that. But it's just so like fast and fluid, and the style of it is so interesting. It's hard not to get addicted to it. Like right out the gate, it just like drops you straight in with like deep end, no floaties, let's go. And it's so just like, again, fast and fun, and it feels really good. The shooting feels really good, which is important.
You better say, yeah, that's kind of the key thing when it
Yeah.
comes to something like this.
Yeah. If it wouldn't work if it didn't feel really good to play, and it does. So Post Void, and I think it's only like $5. So I mean, for what it is, for the price, like I said, check out the video on the YouTube channel. If this sounds like the kind of thing you might be into, again, content warning. It's also very, very mature. Like in terms of the actual like content in the game, it is very mature. So, know what you're getting into. But if this is the kind of thing that sounds like it might be appealing to you, then you have my blessing. Post Void, it's really cool. Check it out. Another one that I want to flag is something that I wanted to bring up last week and totally forgot to. And now I've had a little bit more time that I've spent with it, and that's Paranorma Site.
Yeah.
The Seven Mysteries of Hanjo is the full title of that game. Bad title, but you know what? It's a good game.
Yeah, this is the one from Square Enix, right?
Yeah, it's from Square Enix. Square Enix developed it. It's got an actually really interesting development story. I don't know the gentleman's name, but the guy who is the creative director of this game has like a decades long history of producing like legendary like mobile games in Japan that are of this kind of visual novel style. He's like a legend in Japan, evidently, and has never released a game of his here in the States until now with Paranorma Site. And this is Square Enix published and developed. It's only $20. It's on a launch window discount, so I got it for like $15.99. And what this is, it's like a visual novel detective. You're kind of like it's Japanese horror, so you're kind of like in your Danganronpa sort of vibe,
creepy little ghost girls and all that stuff.
Creepy. It's very like jump scary and stuff like this. But what's cool about Paranorma Site, well, there are many cool things about Paranorma Site, but this game is very like fourth wall breaky. Like this game, like the Psycho Mantis thing from Metal Gear, this game's doing that all the time. Like,
really?
Yeah. So I'll give you a good example. So the story setup of this, and this happens within the first like hour of the game. So this is not major spoilers. If you're like very, spoiler sensitive, maybe skip ahead like a minute. But the story setup of this game is you are a curse bearer, not a curse bear. When I was describing this on Nintendo Drive last week, Matt thought I said curse bear, not curse bear, curse bearer.
I'd still play that.
I would too. And he also thought that I was saying Paranorman the whole time, like the animated movie. So it's not that either. Though. It's a good movie, but it's not that either. So you're a curse bearer. You get this curse stone, and what you have to do in order to perform this thing called the rite of resurrection, which is exactly what it sounds like. It gives you the ability to bring a loved one back from the dead. You have to fill it with souls. Frames. Yeah, very much so. You have to fill it with souls, and you can go around, if you wanted to, killing people willy nilly, but it's not going to get you very many souls. What does is killing other curse bearers. There are 7 other curse bearers, one for each, or 6 rather, one for each mystery of Hanjo. Each curse is kind of tied to one of the phenomena, or whatever. And it's interesting. So the basic premise of the game is just tracking these other curse bearers down and figuring out how to not only activate your curse, but figuring out, because they want to kill you too, because they have the exact same motivation, right? So it becomes this tense stalemate with every single one of them of like
horror battle royal.
Yeah, well, like who's gonna go first, and also like, what is it that activates their curse? The whole time you're thinking, like, for example, there are multiple playable characters. You wind up playing the story as like 4 of the curse bearers.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's cool. You can like back out to this like storyboard thing and choose who you're gonna play as, and you can sort of go back to different moments. There's a whole like storyboard of things and chapters you can replay and stuff through different perspectives. It's really interesting.
Maybe
But
call it a murder board.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but you wind up in this like stalemate with people where you're like, okay, I need to figure out how to get them. The guy you start the game as, his name's Shoujo. You have to get people to turn around in order to activate your curse, because the whole
Okay.
mystery that your curse is based on is about this woman whose like husband left her and walked away from her, something like that. So you have to get people to walk away from you before you can activate your curse. So you're figuring out how you do that. At the same time, you don't know what is activating their curse. And there are a couple of moments where they're like, yo, like my curse is already activated, and you don't even know if they're lying or not. Right? So there's a situation where you meet a guy, probably like one of the first people you meet. When you're chatting with him, he reveals that his curse is activated by you hearing what he says, from you hearing his voice. That's all he has to do. If you hear his voice, his curse is activated. He could kill you at any time, right? So what ends up happening is you have to your character is like, well, how do I avoid hearing his voice, right? And the solution to that is you go into the options menu and you turn down the voice volume to 0 to not hear his voice. And that's how it works.
How did you figure that out?
The game has a storyteller character who is kind of like narrating the whole thing. He'll kind of point you in the right direction. So this encounter is very much the like tutorial encounter, right?
Yeah.
And so he's kind of steering you in the right direction. And your character, there's like a hint system kind of thing where your character is like thinking out loud all the time. You're picking up items that'll help you for certain situations. And I won't spoil all of them, of course, but that first kind of tutorial one really is when the game is sort of like, no, this is what this game is. And the game is always doing that. The game is always taking advantage of the fact that it's a video game and like breaking that fourth wall and doing really cool and interesting things with it.
So you really got to think outside the box.
Yeah, the game really sort of trains you to think outside the box, and you have this like file on this log. So you get to this point where you're trying to also figure out which of the mysteries their curse is associated to. So there's one where it's associated with this like samurai who like set himself on fire or something like that. And then that kind of gives you the inclination of like, oh, well, maybe I have an item that could be related to this that could either trigger or not trigger her curse, right? So it's all this like back and forth with the characters. It's got a really interesting story behind it. Great characters. The music is excellent. And again,
Nice.
This is just a little like $20 visual novel sort of thing. But it's really, really good and interesting. And I hope people don't sleep on it. It's really cool. So,
Nice.
yeah.
I might have to check it out.
Paranorma Site. The 7 Mysteries of Hanjo on the Nintendo
Yeah, I'll be more than
Switch.
happy to play as a curse bear and Paranorman.
Yeah, Paranorman the Curse Bear. But that's pretty much all I've been playing. Bayonetta's this weekend. That's going to be the weekend game. So
Indubitably.
looking forward to digging into that. But we had some news to talk about, my friend. What do you say we get into it?
We do. Thankfully, we have some news to talk about. It was kind of light the first couple days of the week, but very back-heavy news week, especially a lot of big stuff happening today. So let's talk about it.
Hey, listen!
So you actually turned me on to this. I didn't even realize that the Media Indie Exchange Spring 2023 showcase was happening today. You
Yes.
messaged me and let me know this was happening. And then not only did we not know it was happening, we didn't know it was going to be like 2 hours in length.
Exactly, yeah. Playtonic was teasing, because Playtonic Friends, their publishing wing,
Right.
they were teasing the next game that they were going to publish, and it was going to be revealed here at this little independent game showcase called, like you said, the Media Indie Exchange, the Mix Spring 2023 showcase. And I was like, well, cool. We love Platonic. All of their games have come to Switch. I assume that the one that was announced today is going to come to Switch, although it wasn't announced for Switch. We did see a Switch logo? Okay. Yep. I didn't see one initially. We'll touch on a lot of the games here in a second. A lot of them, not all of them, because, again, we didn't know this was 2 hours. There were a ton of games shown off today, a lot of which Seth and I didn't even realize existed, a lot of which we were just learning about for the first time today. This kind of just came out of nowhere and blew our socks off. So let's just, kind of start taking things one by one. But, just top-level thoughts about it. This is something you already said, and I already agreed with you before you said it. Not knowing that this was 2 hours really made it feel long-winded, and it would have immensely benefited from being more upfront with its length, or maybe trying to trim a lot of the fat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were definitely some sections where it would just be like, 4 or 5 minutes of just like the developer talking about the game, which is great and all. And that's cool if that's like the focus of your event. I'm all about that. But again, when you're talking about a 2 hour long event that we didn't even know was going to be 2 hours, I'm sitting here just like, okay, man, like, come on, like we got to get to the next thing. Like this is, it did start to feel like a slog.
Yeah, if you're talking about like a 20-minute showcase that only has 3 or 4 games, sure, that approach is great. But when you're talking about a show where they showed off literally dozens of titles, when late into the show, a guy is just kind of sitting there and conversating over footage of his game and just kind of having a good old time with no real urgency to it.
Yeah,
it's just like, okay, what's the next thing? We've been here for an hour and a half. What's the next thing? So, but there were still a lot of really cool games shown off, and thankfully, a lot of them are coming to the Nintendo Switch. What was your game of show, Seth?
Oh man, it's funny. There are a couple things that definitely stood out to me. This is another huge annoyance for me with shows like this is the lack of release dates. Also, this always annoys me. There were not a lot of release dates here. And then there are some things where it's like, okay, like this is probably coming to the Switch, but it doesn't have like any confirmation. 99% of the games here were just like, well, this is like you can wishlist it on Steam or whatever. And like you look at it and you're like, well, that's got to be coming to Switch, but why not confirm it? Anyways, that always drives me crazy. Man, my game of the show, I don't really know. I guess I would probably... I'll tell you what was my biggest surprise was Dr. Fetus's Mean Meat Machine. I did not see that coming.
Dr. Fetus's Mean Meat Machine. We've always known that Super Meat Boy was an incredibly referential game that... if you've ever played Super Meat Boy, it's constantly playing homage to retro games with all the cutscenes. And that's actually kind of like, you could play a little meta game of just trying to figure out what all the different references are when it comes to the cutscenes and a lot of the in-game Easter eggs. But in an even more meta twist, they are basically parodying the classic Puyo Puyo, aka Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine from the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive, and that's just amazing.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool too. I like how they incorporate like the classic Meat Boy buzzsaws into it and whatnot. Yeah, and I'm kind of into that. But again, like no release date. Like what's going on here? So that was probably my like one. That's probably my biggest surprise. I will say, too, the game that you alluded to earlier, Elsie, looks cool.
Yes.
I wish it wasn't a roguelike, but it does look cool. So
yeah.
That was my take on that.
It's coming to the only console it's actually confirmed for is the Nintendo Switch. It's coming to Steam and Switch, and it's made in partnership with Gerard the Completionist.
Yeah.
And it is really interesting, a very kind of Mega Man-esque feel to it, Azure Striker kind of feel to it. Basically a roguelike action platformer, very akin to a lot of the stuff. If you're a big fan of like Inti Creates or something like that, you'll probably be very familiar with what's going on here, like an action platformer bullet hell, essentially. Yeah. But it does look quite rad. It does
Yeah.
look quite rad, and I'm really excited to check it out when it does ultimately drop.
Yeah, I think it looks cool. We don't have any sort of kind of notion of like when this is going to finally come out or anything like this, but it is coming to Switch and it does look really cool. I wish it were a designed, level to level thing, but it's
I
a
do too.
roguelike. That's it's fine. It still looks cool. I still want to play it. What would you say was your game of show?
I don't know if I have like a game of show necessarily, but there was
Yeah.
definitely a game they showed off early on that we had seen previously that I wasn't really 100% sold on yet, despite having a stunning art direction. I wasn't necessarily sold on the game as a whole, but the new trailer that they showed off here at Mix 2023 for Dordogne
Oh yeah.
was absolutely stunning.
Yeah. I'm
Was
into that too.
absolutely stunning. The watercolor aesthetic and the way the character just kind of glides through this immaculately conceived world. It's probably going to be very gameplay light, but I want to play the game just to be able to exist in that world and see the types of environments and stunning painted kind of backdrops that we're going to be playing against. Because words really don't do this trailer justice, in my opinion. Again, I really thought the art direction looked fantastic from the first trailer, and it had kind of an interesting conceit. You play as this girl kind of remembering her past. You play as the young version of this girl, but the new trailer that they showed off today, I was absolutely sold on the game. I was like, yep, I'm absolutely picking this up now.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was the most impressed, but it took a game that I previously wasn't sold on and sold me on it.
Yeah, it gives me Millennium Kitchen vibes, Kazuyabe's studio. Boku no Natsu
1,000%.
Attack of the Friday Monsters, that kind of thing.
Shin-chan,
Yeah, Shin-chan gives me that kind of vibe, and I'm very, very into that. And yeah, the art's beautiful.
I know you are.
we saw we saw this at either an Indie World or maybe this was one of the House of Indies games late last year. We saw this in an official Nintendo thing somewhat recently. So we do know it's coming to Switch. We never had like a release window though. Now we do. It's coming out in spring. So sometime in the next few months. So yeah, I'm into it though, man. I'll be day one on that.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, a lot of the release dates we did get here at the show are spring or April. There's a game that I'm personally really excited for. We've seen a few trailers for it up until now, but we got another look at it today as we're recording this. The presentation was just a few hours ago.
Yeah.
But I'm really, really interested in the Bramble King. I'm getting super big, like Little Nightmares-esque kind of vibes, like a Juggler's Tale kind of vibes. I'm really into this game. I really can't wait to check it out. I think they should maybe wait to release it for October because it'd be like a perfect indie showcase, spooky indie showcase for us. Yeah. But I'm going to be all over this one.
Why can't people just be more considerate of our show when they pick their release dates? You're
not a no by now.
Yeah. I mean, just if they had released this during October, I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll still circle back to it at that point. Maybe it'll come out and it'll be incredible.
I think we
incredible.
It does look really good.
Has that sort of like Scandinavian folklore vibe to it.
Nordic, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, April 27th is the date on that. I think it actually is getting a physical too when it comes out. So
I'll double dip. I probably will.
I think it's launching with a physical. Like I think you can go. I think it's gonna be like kind of like how like Time on Frog Island was. Like it came out and it had a physical at launch and everything. So yeah.
Ironically enough, that's not the only game to be announced for April 27th that we heard about in this presentation either. Another game called Mail Time.
Mail
Time.
Blue's Clues fans.
The fact that you and I both had the same brain cell for a second there is the reason that we co-host this show together.
Here's the mail; it never fails. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. If you're above a certain age, you know exactly what we're referencing right now. Yeah, Mail Time looks cute, man. April 27th. This game's been in development for a long time. We've seen this at a million different places, at Wholesome Games Directs and stuff. And
Yep.
yeah, cool that it's in the home stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really interesting. I hope to check it out. Another one that got confirmed for the Nintendo Switch is this interesting kind of 2D tower defense, retro throwback base builder thing called Kingdom 80s.
Okay.
It kind of gives me like Stranger Things vibes meets like, you remember the original like base building tower defense conceit of Fortnite before it turned into a battle royale?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of what it reminded me about, because it looks like you're running around collecting resources, trying to build up your town, and then I guess at night or during some situational period, some weird mutant alien monsters start attacking your town. It claims to be incredibly 80s, and again, kind of big Stranger Things vibes. Very pixelated. The art direction actually reminds me of Oliha. Oliha, a game that we did an indie showcase on a while back that is attempting to kind of emulate, what was it, like a ZX Spectrum or something like that?
Yeah.
Atari, yeah. So, but if you're into stuff like that, just the 2D kind of tower defense thing kind of intrigues me, because typically when we see games like that, they're top down or something else like that. So I'm interested to check this out. We will see.
Yeah. See how that turns out. We there's a game that had us kind of scratching our heads, like, how is this gonna look and run on Switch? This Strayed Lights game.
Yeah.
That one, it looks really like striking visually.
Yes, it does.
And I did not expect to see a Switch logo at the end of that trailer.
No, I did not either. I messaged you in all caps. I was like, that's coming to Switch.
Yeah.
But it describes itself as a Souls-like, and by that, I'm sure you can probably discern quite a bit of information about the game. One really interesting thing that they're doing with this is, for anybody who's played Ikaruga, for anybody who has actually played, you remember that game, what was it, Outlast? On the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3? That Metroidvania?
Are you thinking of...
Where you actually switched polarity? Or not Outlast,
Outlands?
Outcast? Or
was it Outlands?
Something like that.
It's kind of like you're playing as the characters look like they're in like they're almost like chibi, like space suits or something like that. Is that the one? Oh, no. You're thinking of the one where it's like a gold or a blue suit, right? Like Tron almost looking, isn't it?
It's more tribal, more I'll have to send it to you after the show. Yeah. But this idea of polarity and changing polarities, apparently the enemies
Outland.
are going to...
Yeah,
it was Outland. Okay.
Yep.
Was I saying Outlast? That's a very different game.
Made by Housemarque. I didn't know that. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Housemarque, Super Stardust HD, great studio. Outland was fantastic. But this game is very similar to that in that you can change polarity between red and blue, and the enemies will not be able to damage you if they are the same polarity. Like a magnet, red repels red, blue repels blue. So what you're essentially trying to do is match the polarity of the enemy's attacks until you can break their defense. So that's going to be the big gimmick behind this Souls-like. But it looks very visually striking, and I really want to check it out.
Yeah, I was, again, surprised to see that Switch logo at the end there, man.
I was too.
Wow, really? And it's coming out pretty soon on Steam, because as was the case with a lot of these games, they were like wishlisted on Steam. They point us to the Steam page. And I did look at this game's Steam listing. I think it's coming like April 5th or something like that. So
yeah, it sounds right.
I don't know if it's coming to Switch on that day too or what. So
well, it's certainly going to be forgotten by everybody going to see the Mario movie that day.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's in that early April. Like, it's coming out in the next few weeks, at least on Steam. So we will see what happens there. I'll tell you another big surprise for me, and this was actually announced before the show started.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny because they had their own like world premiere splash, you know?
Yep.
And this one fell under that. It's like, well, actually, not really a world premiere anymore. Sorry. But Frog Gun Encore
Yeah.
is they're calling it a standalone expansion / sequel, whatever that means, to Frogun, which just came out last August. So it's already
Yep.
getting a follow-up, Frogun Encore.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, they said something similar to like Mario Galaxy 2. Mario Galaxy 2 was initially conceived as just kind of an expansion to Super Mario Galaxy, but we all see how Mario Galaxy 2 turned out. It was a much, much bigger endeavor than I think a lot of us thought. And yeah, I don't know how big this is going to be. Trailers always obviously make the game seem like it's going to be this big, grand adventure, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18,000 hours. But it does look, I mean, it was very quickly apparent that the game has more visual polish and that the worlds themselves are going to be much more comprehensive, which they will be because the game is going to now be multiplayer.
Yeah. Yeah. Local co-op, local only, worth noting.
Local co-op only.
So,
yeah. But, I mean, Frogun came out and absolutely blew up. I'm still waiting on my physical copy of that to come in before I play it, but still very, very excited. Low poly games like 32, 64-bit low poly action platformers are one of my happy places. So I'm incredibly excited to play Frogun when I finally get it in, and incredibly excited to try out Encore when it does come out. I did think the naming convention was a little bit weird because it does make it seem, it initially made it seem like it was going to be a big DLC release for the original and not necessarily a standalone game. So I did think the naming was a bit strange in that regard.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. We'll see. It's supposed to come out this summer, so it's supposed to come out pretty soon. We'll see what happens there. And there are also a few games that, like, again, didn't have Switch logos, but I'm just like, man, I really hope Dave the Divers.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah, I know you are. I wasn't really familiar with it, but you and I were messaging back and forth. It was like, oh man, I really hope this comes to the Switch. And as I was watching, I was like, yeah, I can see what he's talking about.
Yeah, I've had
looks
my eye
really
for a
cool.
little while. It looks cool. It's like this pixel art, like you go out and you fish and then you bring it home and run like a sushi bar. It seems cool. I want to play it.
It does seem cool. Yeah, there were a lot of games that could very easily run on the Nintendo Switch. So I do hope we get a lot of these at some point down the line. I actually put together.
Please.
Yeah, Lotto Knots would be fantastic. I would absolutely love that. Town Seek looked really interesting. What was it? That Super Hand Adventure looks really cool. Dave the Diver. Peglin would be amazing. I've been wanting a new like Peggle style experience, and having that as an RPG hybrid just sounds genius.
Bowser's here in the chat vouching for Dave the Diver. She's been playing it on Steam Deck. It's already out on Steam. She's playing Dave the Diver and vouching for its quality, making me want it on Switch even more, Bowser.
Yeah. She did that intentionally. Well done, Bowser.
I think so. Yeah.
It did that intentionally. I know it's not coming. But if I could find that 4-leaf clover and just squeeze any amount of luck out of it, if it were up to me, we would get Viewfinder on Switch. I know that's never going to happen. I know it's never going to happen, but I would love to get Viewfinder on Switch. Gunhead also looks really cool.
Yeah,
Gunhead I thought looked really cool.
That one did look. What was that? Oh, what that like Harry Halfhead or whatever?
Henry Halfhead. Yes. I reached out to the developer asking if it was planned for a Switch release date. As of this recording, they have not gotten back to me yet. I did also reach out to the developer. Yeah, I actually also reached out to the developer. You remember that taxi game where you play as this little wind-up taxi? Yeah, that bonkers like taxi wind-up toy car game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was absolutely bonkers. I reached out to them as well. The developer liked my question on Twitter, but did not respond to it. So take that for what you will. I'm not going to analyze that any further than just that.
Let's overthink it. Let's peer pressure them into a Switch port.
Let's overthink it. But honestly, we go back to Game of Show or whatever. If I was honestly going to choose a game of show, a really strong contender for me would probably be that Let's Revolution puzzle game.
You were telling
me I know that
about
wasn't that. You didn't really vibe with it, but I thought it looked really cool. It's this weird, like, board game puzzle Minesweeper-esque. Yeah. It looks really cool. I was actually getting kind of Critter Crunch vibes from it just a little bit. And I don't know, it just really spoke to me. I would love for that to come to the Nintendo Switch. I was honestly surprised to hear that it didn't really do too much for you. I felt like the visual style was kind of reminiscent of something like a Steven Universe, which of course you are kind of well known for loving.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love the visuals of it. I don't know. I guess it was just like the gameplay. I didn't think it looked bad. It just kind of like left me feeling like, like, all right,
Okay.
and you know, it's a terrible title. Also, Let's Revolution.
That's fair.
So,
that's fair.
You know, but it looks interesting. I mean, it is kind of funny. Like now that we're saying all this out loud, it is kind of funny that there aren't a lot of games that even emulate Minesweeper, like at all.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I am kind of into that idea.
Oh, by the way, if you are a Minesweeper fan, then you have to back the latest season of Boss Fight books because they're actually making a Minesweeper book. Yeah. So definitely check that out. I do like one thing about Let's Revolution. The Twitter account for the game is actually tweeted from the perspective of the evil king that you're going after.
That's cute. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I dug that. But would love to see that come to the Nintendo Switch. But again, at this Mix Showcase Media Indie Exchange at Indie Exchange on Twitter, go ahead and check it out because, again, there were just so many games, way too much for us to talk about. Even the ones that we have talked about, even the time we have been talking about it, there's still so much more that we haven't even touched on. So we do recommend checking that out. Again, it's 2 hours long, but if you're a big indie game fan like we are, we think it's worth it. Just be prepared. It's 2 hours.
Know what you're getting into. I think if they had set those expectations ahead of time, I think that would have mitigated a lot of kind of what we're talking about.
Which is what we're trying to do for you right now.
Yeah. So be prepared. Much like Scar in The Lion King says, Eric, be prepared. You know?
Be prepared. Well, we have a couple games that may be getting prepared to go into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, snap. That's a good segue. I like that.
Oh,
segue.
I thought so. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
That.
Yes, the Strong Museum this past week announced the finalists. I believe there's like 12 or 13. The finalists for the 2023 class of the World Video Game Hall of Fame. And in and amongst the rest of the games are two very notable Nintendo candidates in the form of the legendary Nintendo 64 FPS shooter, which we finally got back on a Nintendo console recently, GoldenEye 007, as well as, I think, the best-selling Nintendo game of all time?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I think so.
When you consider the grand scheme of it, yeah.
Granted. So, GoldenEye 007 and Wii Sports, the two big Nintendo candidates for the 2023 class, the Hall of Fame. Finalists not decided just yet. They do have an open poll running until the 22nd of March. So if you're listening to this episode within the first week, it has come out. Go ahead, go to the Strong Museum's website. Go ahead and vote for whichever games that you want to see in the Hall of Fame. The community vote will be tallied as a single vote within the Hall of Fame, kind of council voting. So as a cumulative community, we have a vote at the table.
Yeah. So go in there, vote for Wii Sports, do the right thing, and make sure Wii Sports gets its rightful place on the Video Game Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And while they're not Nintendo candidates, some of these are pretty interesting additions, pretty interesting candidates. Yeah. You do have some stuff like The Last of Us is also up, which is fair. You have Age of Empires, which is fair. But you also have something like, you know what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Seth.
Barbie fashion designer?
Barbie fashion designer. Yep.
What?
Okay. I was immediately, kind of, was surprised by this as well. So I went to the website and I was like, what is their rationale And they specifically said when it was released back in 1996, the vast majority of games, basically the entire industry, was being geared toward young boys and young male gamers.
Yeah.
So this was a game being marketed exclusively toward girls, and apparently it sold like 500,000 copies, which, according to the Strong Museum's website, was a big kind of indicator to companies that you can market to girls. You can expand the definition of what a gamer is and still be successful. They also they also mentioned the fact that it had a really interesting physical component because you could design the outfits in game, but there was also this special fabric that you could buy and actually print out and cut out the outfits on a specialized printer.
That's pretty cool.
So fair play to that.
Fair enough. You know what? I laughed it off. I look at that entry and I'm like, what is this? I really respect Barbie. Like as a brand and everything, really respect it. Always have. And I can appreciate the historical significance of it or whatever.
Me
and I
too.
like, I like that it, is the kind of thing that signals to companies, especially in that it's still a very male dominated world, right? But
it is.
But it's nice that even in those early days where it was much more like front facing, that they had something like this to indicate to people like, oh no, like girls play games too. So yeah, I like that. Good on them.
And when we say like kind of male dominated these days, it's more of because we know that half of you gamers out there are girls. It's just kind of front facing on the offset. Everybody just kind of assume that gamers equals boys. That's just kind of the stereotypical gamer.
The world in general, my friend. It's that sort of whole thing. And and with video game, 99% of the protagonists you're playing in games today are men. You know what I mean? So
although most of them finally allow you now to choose.
Well,
I say most, more than was used to at least.
Yeah, so I think that's what gives something like this, cultural significance. And and again, it's got stuff like The Last of Us, Quake, Call of Duty 4. These are Age of Empires. These are significant games, but if I had to pick one of these, Wii Sports is, I'm not joking, maybe in my opinion, the most important video game ever released. Like I've said this before, I'll say it a million times. That game is so important to video games, to the notion of anybody can play video games. Your geriatrics are playing Wii Sports. You know what I mean? Elderly, young people. It broke down every conceivable barrier. That game came to us from outer space, and it deserves everything.
It would not surprise me if Wii Sports was played by more human beings than any game in history.
Yeah, I think so.
Because just like you said, if you weren't there, it is really hard to understate how omnipresent Wii Sports was. It was all over the news, like you said, talking about geriatrics. That's an allusion to the fact that like so many like rehabilitation wards and so many like old folks homes and elderly communities. To this day, have Nintendo Wii's and Wii Sports to get elderly people up and moving, because very famously it used rudimentary motion controls. You had to stand up and actually swing the Wii remote to swing the racket in tennis. You had to swing it to swing the bat in baseball. It was a way for people to get up and in some small way try to be active. And to the point where there were even news stories about whether it was bad for your health.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wii Sports absolutely deserves to be in the Video Game Hall of Fame. No question. You guys need to go out and do the right thing. Link is open right now until the 22nd.
I mean, again, not to take away from any of these other games, and even GoldenEye, these are iconic, important games, but Wii Sports is on another category, in my opinion. So, anyways, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yes, absolutely. So, given the choice, you would choose Wii Sports over GoldenEye?
1,000,000 times. 10 times out of 10.
We'd love to hear, with all the different listings, we'd love to hear what you guys think deserves to be in this Hall of Fame. Give us your top 2 candidates from this Video Game Hall of Fame's finalist list. The winners, I say the winners, the final Hall of Fame class is set to be revealed May 4th, I believe.
That's right. That's right. Good thing to notate there. So May 4th, we'll know. We'll see Wii Sports take the crown on that on May 4th. So good to know.
We probably
Eric, we've got a few other little things to hit here. First of all, for a long time fans
they did
of All In,
it. They did it just because of us. Just because of us, because we were right. They had to make us liars.
longtime fans of All In will know or remember that for a long time there, we had sort of acknowledged or noticed that there was a span of 3-4 months where every single Thursday we were getting, every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, like clockwork, we were getting some sort of NSO related something. And so we began on the show calling it NSO Thursday. And we were just sort of joking around about it. We would expect it to the point where you and I would just have Twitter up just when it would, when the clock would strike that time, ready to, share or see what the news would be. So we
literally scheduled our recording around it.
Yeah. So we would sort of develop that cadence with it and stuff like that. We knew what the score was. Made the cardinal, mistake of talking about it on the show. And so Doug Bowser, good friend and longtime listener of the show since day one, he made the executive decision to remove NSO Thursday from the roster of Nintendo marketing. And for a long time, we were in a period of darkness. And now, just to stir the pot a little bit, they have enacted what we are calling NSO Wednesday, where now we're getting Wednesday drops.
Yes.
I think it's been 2 or 3 weeks in a row now we've been getting Wednesday drops.
Yeah, well, last week it was pretty fair because they did want to overlap with Mario Day, which is understandable because it's the night before for us, but these drops happen the morning after if you're talking Japan time.
Right.
So last week it made sense because if they had done it Thursday night, that would have meant that it was Friday morning in Japan. That would have meant that Metroid Fusion would have dropped on Mario Day, which would have been a little bit counterintuitive to the messaging that day. So it made sense that we got it Wednesday night, that we got Metroid Fusion Wednesday night last week. But now it just seems like they're going with it at this point, again, just to make us liars. However, I will say, I think this is a very interesting drop. A little bit low-key for some people, because outside of Kirby's Dream Land 2, there wasn't a lot of pomp and circumstance with the other games. But I think the other games have a little bit to tell us when it comes to this NSO drop. And specifically, the four games that were dropped were the aforementioned Kirby's Dream Land 2 and also Burger Time Deluxe for the original Game Boy. Of course, the Game Boy NSO app was released a few weeks ago in addition to the Game Boy Advance NSO app back in February during that awesome Nintendo Direct. But we also got Xavios. I've played it a bunch across my life.
I've never known. I've always said Xavious. I don't know how you pronounce it. I've got no clue.
Bob.
Sure.
We're going to call it Bob.
All right.
But Bob, no, Xavios, Xavier, whatever.
I don't know.
It's a top-down shooter, but it's an NES top-down shooter, and we got that in addition to from Data East, the same company that did Burger Time Deluxe. We got from Data East Side Pocket, a billiards game on the Super Nintendo. And the reason I think this is really interesting is two or even threefold. One, I think especially after the release of the Game Boy and GBA NSO apps, I think most of us just thought the Nintendo and Super Nintendo apps were done.
Big time. Yeah.
So the fact that they're still releasing games for the NES and SNES apps, the fact that they haven't forgotten those apps, I think is a very important takeaway from this drop. I do think Side Pocket is a bizarre choice because as much as I am for game preservation, which I talk about with, I feel, basically every single one of these updates, because there's always an obscure game or two. As much as I laud and appreciate the game preservation of it, did we really need like a seventh way to play pool on the Nintendo Switch?
I think Side Pocket's a cool game. I actually
See,
like Side
see,
Pocket.
see, here's the thing. Like, yeah, I wasn't aware. There were a few people that were like, oh, cool, Side Pocket. And I was like, is this a cult pool game? Is there an actual Side Pocket fan base?
Yeah.
I genuinely want to know. Like, if you're a fan of Side Pocket from Data East, let me know. But I was kind of surprised that of all the obscure games that Nintendo had to choose from, of all the obscure games, because the Super Nintendo had a very good library, ladies and gentlemen, and of all the games that they could have chosen, Side Pocket did feel kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
But I will say, Bob, Xavios, whatever we want to call it, I'm glad it's here. I hate to say it. Man, has that game not aged well. It came out in 1988 originally, but it's just, you play as one ship that you never get any power-ups. You have your straight air shot. You have your bombs that you can drop on the ground, but you never get any power-ups. The shot never changes. So it becomes, it was cool for when it came out. They were really pushing the whole shmup genre forward quite a bit, and it would get, the shmup drama within the course of just a few years would get a ton of new updates and new mechanics and new ideas added to the genre that would vastly change how those games are played. And unfortunately, Xavios was just kind of stuck in the middle there and was made obsolete essentially about a year or two later completely. So as a piece of game preservation, it's cool, but as a shmup, unless you are a hardcore fan of the game, this is probably one of those games that's going to be boring about 3 minutes after you hit the start button. But honestly, the most interesting game in this drop for me is Burger Time Deluxe. Even more so than Kirby's Dream Land 2. The reason being, Burger Time Deluxe was not advertised as one of the games eventually coming to the Game Boy Advance NSO. So effectively what Nintendo have told us is, yeah, we may have told you, we may have already confirmed some of the games that are coming, but everything is still on the table. Like, those are not the only games. Don't think just because we didn't announce a game coming to one of these services that it's not coming. The fact that they've already dropped an unannounced game when we still have several announced games yet to come for the Game Boy Advance or for the Game Boy NSO app.
Right.
Like, as far as I'm concerned, like, the floodgates are open. Like, anything could drop at any time as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sure when it comes to releases like this, it's just going to be more obscure titles a la Burger Time Deluxe. But again, for fans of preservation, for fans of obscure games, this is a really good sign for me and other people that if there's a specific game you're waiting for, there's a better than zero chance now that Nintendo is going to look at it too.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. It's not, it's not going to be just the things that they've announced. They might also throw in, a Burger Time Deluxe. They might also throw in the Game Boy Color Animorphs game that I really love. They might also just throw that in there. Why not?
They might also throw in Astro Boy Omega Factor on the GBA.
Could be. Who knows? We're just throwing that out there.
We're just throwing that out there. But again, the fact that we've already gotten an unannounced Game Boy game added to the Game Boy NSO app, I think is a very good sign. I don't want to look into it too much. I'm not expecting like another 50 games anytime soon. But the fact that we're already getting unannounced games while we still have announced games yet to come, I think is a very good sign.
Yeah, very cool. So those are now live on those NSO apps. And also worth noting, too, that these are not the expansion pack apps, right? These are for you with your basic
That's true, yeah.
NSO subscription, you could get these. So they are still supporting all of these kind of even the lower tier. They're not just, gating you into getting expansion packs. So really cool to see.
And worth noting with this drop, I did check the other services just in case we got like one of those special version games, because they do occasionally do that. They'll drop the announced games, but sometimes there'll be like a special version of one of the titles that, gives you a different start point or basically lets you start the game with updated save data. There wasn't a drop like this in these games.
Right. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Well, let's talk about Splatfest, Eric.
Yes.
We know about the next Splatfest happening the weekend of March 31st to April 2nd. So that is, I think, the weekend after next. We're getting a Splatfest. And I think the theme of this is which one is real or something like that. And it's between Nessie, aliens, and Bigfoot. So, yeah.
Nice big cryptid Splatfest. I dig it.
Yeah,
I dig it.
I'm into
Nintendo's still doing a ton of weird, fun events. We've also got a Decidueye Terra Raid battle in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that started today. Nice big green Pokemon for St. Patrick's Day. Cool. But yes, for the next Splatfest, the next thing that they're going to make people die on the hill of is cryptozoology, and I'm here for it. And I've got to say, as somebody who's actually visited Loch Ness in his life, I've got to go with Nessie. It is hard to understate how important this fake creature, I'm sorry, it's a very real creature. We all know that. I'm just, for the sake of protecting her, for this fake creature, the economic impact that it has on the local community there.
Oh, I'm sure.
It is awesome. It is awesome. I love Nessie to death. Team Nessie all the way, as far as I'm concerned.
Nice. I'm not gonna die. For me, it was just like I told my wife about it. My wife is who I play like most of these Splatfests with. So I told her about it. I'm like, what team are you on? She's like, Team Alien. I'm like, cool, I'm Team Alien too then. You know, like that was really all it was for me. Because I don't have any skin in the game. I'm not superstitious. Weirdly enough, I think Bigfoot is probably like the one of these that is probably the most likely to be real. I feel like Bigfoot is just like a rare species of ape or something. Like I feel like that's all that is. You know what I mean?
Possibly.
So
I know what you mean, but yet crazy. I created a comic book Bigfoot character, but it was just, and worth noting for this Splatfest, when they talk about aliens, they're just talking about the kind of classic Little Green Men interpretation. So, I mean, there's been so many different aliens across so many different forms of media at this point. But for this Splatfest, I think they're just specifically talking about the classical Area 51 Little Green Men from Flying Saucers. Yeah,
it's all about having some fun, you know, and I'm into it. I dig it. I like these kind of more fun Splatfest. I'm looking forward to hearing the incessant arguments about why, you know, Loch Ness Monster is better than aliens or Bigfoot or whatever. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the three say.
What Deep Cut say, exactly. Yeah. What they're different. I want to see what they're talking about when it comes to like real world stuff like this. How are they going to explain, you know, it's like, well, I've heard in mammalian lore, legend of, you know, because I mean,
a mammalian.
Bigfoot, right? Exactly. Bigfoot's a mammal. So how are they going to talk about these cryptids within the context of the game itself? That's honestly probably going to be the most interesting perspective.
Yeah, we'll have to get Cheesy working on the lore breakdown of Bigfoot in the Splatoon universe. So
Cheesy, get on that.
Get on it, Cheesy. Real quick, I just wanted to hit this real fast because I've talked about this game specifically on the show. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but I have been like Disney Speedstorm is an interesting idea. Like Disney's take on Mario Kart, free to play. Okay, let's see what happens, right? If anybody's going to make a competent, you know, Mario Kart style game, I think Disney's got a pretty decent shot at it, all right? But this whole time they've been saying it's coming soon, it's coming soon, it's coming soon. What they've been saying
it's supposed to come out like last summer.
They have been saying it's coming soon for like the past year. And so it's really been annoying. I've talked about it here on the show before. It's finally got a date for its early access, which is April 18th. So they're handling this exactly the same way they're handling Dreamlight Valley, which is you pay $30 for like the founder pack, you get the characters and stuff like that. And then like at some point later on, it'll launch properly and be free to play and everything. So I'm hoping that like Dreamlight Valley, this comes out and it's of high quality and it's worth playing. I mean, if it comes out and it's good, I'll pay $30. Like I'm into the idea. So yeah,
because Dreamlight Valley, at least according to our good friend Locklith, your Carpool Gaming co-host, apparently she really enjoys it.
Court loves it too. I know a lot of people who love that game. So, Dreamlight Valley was successful for them. And I'm hoping this is the same. I'm hoping they take this like kind of Mario Kart formula with Disney characters and make something cool out of it. I will have my eyes close on Disney Speedstorm. So,
Yeah.
Anyways, April 18th, early access.
And not a Nintendo story, but that Steam game, the Toxic Avengers beat 'em up. I really hope that comes to Switch. Just throwing it out there. Not a Nintendo story, just throwing that out there in the universe. That looks so cool. I hope it comes to the Nintendo Switch.
But
let's go ahead and hit some of these notable releases here before we send the folks off for their St. Patrick's Day weekend. Seth, first and foremost, of course, Bayonetta Origins. Cereza and the Lost Demon just came out earlier today. That is going to be Seth and I's next major game going forward. Really, really interesting. This prequel to the Bayonetta series, completely unlike any of the Bayonetta games that have come before. We will be giving you our full thoughts on the title once we are able to roll credits on it. But there is a demo out there. Absolutely worth checking out because free demos always are. So if this is a game that has caught your eye, at least check out the demo. Again, our full thoughts are coming at some point down the line. Forthcoming. Yes, fifth coming even.
Yes, fifth coming perhaps. Eric, perhaps. They dropped it's funny. They've been dropping DLC for Theater Rhythm at a pretty like steady clip. So when I saw that this was in our notes for notable releases, I do appreciate it. We've had a Live Alive drop this past week. They dropped Twelly and Neo Twelly DLC. The World Ends With You and Neo The World Ends With You songs are now in Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line. Makes me very happy. I've already played them all and everything. So
yeah. And as a matter of fact, we also did a full review of Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line.
We did?
Helmed by my amazing co-host here. Just was it last week?
Oh no, it was a couple weeks ago now. But
a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. But it's a good game. I like it a lot. Every time they release a new wave of DLC, I'm in. I go through and I play it all, and yeah, it's good.
Mm-hmm. In addition to that, a new game from a studio that I frankly feel is one of the most underrated studios out there. Nippon Ichi Software, they released Trails to Azure.
Yeah.
Yet another RPG in their incredibly expansive catalog. But if you're an NIS fan, this was probably on your radar already. If not, check it out. If you're a big JRPG fan, check it out.
Dude,
I really love Nippon Ichi Software.
A couple of people that I know love this game. Matt from Carpool is loving this game. Kevin Ainsworth from Save the Game Media called this game. He says it's a masterpiece. Like, this is apparently a really, really good JRPG.
That's what I'm saying. Nippon Ichi is incredibly underrated, man.
Yeah. For me, I look at Trails and I'm like, I find that series impenetrable. I'm like, this is intimidating, but
I can see that.
But yeah, if you're into this stuff, it seems like this is a very good new entry.
I mean, they release another one every week.
Seems like it. Feels like it.
It really does. I mean, it's almost as bad as Nintendo with Kirby right now. It's like, oh no, it's been a week since we released a Kirby game. We have to drop Kirby's Dreamland 2. We have to drop Dreamland 2. And almost honestly, with the frequency of Kirby games that we're getting on Nintendo platforms these days, it genuinely feels like Nintendo is begging Sakurai to come back and do more.
Maybe. Who knows? Speaking of that,
look how much love we're giving to Kirby, Sakurai. Look how much we love your work. Come back. Come back.
Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, speaking of the Kirby drop, of course, we shouted out already, but NSO Wednesday drops Kirby's Dream Land 2, Burger Time Deluxe, Xevious or Xevious or whatever it is, Bob, and
let us know how to pronounce it.
If you know, if there's anybody on planet Earth who knows, let us know.
Exactly. In addition to that, another game we've already talked about, Seth has made a video on it just today as we're recording this. Go ahead and check out his video on the cheap boomer shooter Post Void. Again, epilepsy warning.
Yeah, big time. Big time epilepsy warning, but it's very cool. Very cool, inexpensive. I also want to flag this game Vernal Edge,
which
I was not aware of until I think Matt posted about it in the Discord. This game looks amazing. It's like this kind of like Metroidvania.
Oh, is that the one?
Yeah,
that came out this week. Oh wow!
Yeah, it just came out. It's this kind of like fantasy hack and slash Metroidvania looking thing. The art is gorgeous. Yeah, it looks really cool. I wish listed it. It's a shame that it's come out in such a busy time. Otherwise, I'd be all over it. But yeah, Vernal Edge. Take a look at it.
Yeah. And the last game that we're going to shout out here from this past week, a couple weeks ago, we actually did a top 5 Nintendo Switch games to scratch that Star Fox itch. And this is probably a game we would have shouted out properly if it had been released.
Yeah.
But if you are a big Star Fox fan, you should probably be looking at the brand new released today, as we're recording this, First Squadron.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, it's
Star Fox.
I mean, exactly.
It just is Star Fox.
It just is.
So yeah,
I mean,
definitely
really
check
is.
that out. Yeah.
But let us know what you guys are playing this weekend. If you're trying the new Bayonetta Origins, if you're playing any of the DLC that's been released for the games, it's been an insane month for DLC already. If you're checking out any of the cool indie titles from this past week, let us know. Reach out to us on Facebook at All In Podcast and on Twitter at All In Podcast. And I mean, you talk about Matt turning you on to Vernal Edge. Our Discord is amazing if you are into indie games. We are constantly sharing information about indie games back and forth. We've got a couple different channels in there. So if you're looking for indie game recommendations, I promise you our Discord is the place you want to be. So join the Discord. And in addition to that, obviously, we have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/allinpodcast, where if you are watching us right now, A, thank you, and B, make sure to like and subscribe before you go off for your St. Patrick's Day festivities this weekend. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, do make a point to go to our YouTube channel and like and subscribe sometime in the near future. We turn out a lot of amazing content. And again, as I've already talked about it, I fully intend to be producing a lot of that content in the near future with my shiny new capture card. So look out for even more videos coming your way from All In. But in addition to that, I did also promise to do some stuff with our Patreon, which we also have, Seth.
We do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/allinpodcast is the place to go. We've got a bunch of amazing people that support us there. 3 tiers of support. You can join their ranks and support this awesome independent Nintendo venture of us, exclusive content, as well as discounts on our merch. bit.ly/allinmerch is the place to go. Get yourself a sticker, a shirt, a mug, and yeah, like Eric's holding up right there. And it's awesome. We really appreciate you all for throwing a couple of bones our way for the work we do. But if you don't have any bones to throw away, that's okay too. You can actually, as it turns out, support us entirely for free just by dropping some words. On Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, and Audible, you can leave us 5-star written reviews that I will shout out here on the show to show our thanks for that. And then on Spotify, you can leave us an anonymous 5-star rating, and those are very, very appreciated. Free, easy way to get our show in front of the people who need to hear it. Let us climb those ranks. We appreciate those reviews.
Yes, we do appreciate those reviews. We appreciate everything that you guys have done for us and all the support you have shown us, all of our amazing, amazing patrons. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all so much. All the people who have dropped words and reviews and let us know how much you love what we do here. Thank you so much. And for all of you who have shared our content around the internet, to all of you, we just want to say a huge namaste.
Namaste, folks. That's been the news. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. We love and appreciate you very much. Full episode goes up tomorrow.
It's a good one, guys.
It's a good one. In addition to what we just recorded, which is basically the first segments of our show, our news roundup. We have also got the top 5 characters that Eric and I want to see come to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We both have very, very different lists. So that's a really fun top 5. We've got an indie showcase on Scram Kitty and his buddy on rails for the Nintendo Wii U as we kind of lead up to the eShop closures. And I think next week is probably just going to be a big 3DS and Wii U eShop send-off episode. So we're gearing up for that. And then we have got a great interview with Metroid Mike 64, the prolific Super Mario Maker creator who just recently released, in addition to Super Mario Brothers 5 last year, just released Super Mario Brothers Remix. And he just has an infectious passion and energy for Mario. It was a super fun interview. I can't wait for y'all to hear it. Full episode drops tomorrow. But yeah, appreciate you guys. We'll see you then, and we'll be back here next week for another live news broadcast. So
absolutely, guys. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Be safe out there this weekend.
Be safe, everybody. Love you very much. Bye-bye. And stream.